Hello, and welcome back to Adam's Fam Anime. I'm John, and today we're going to be reviewing One Piece chapter 1016, which is titled, This is Otama. So we start this chapter off with another cover page request. This one is of Zoro wearing a ninja outfit and a shinobi cat who are hiding in an attic crawl space, and they are also dodging some spears that are being thrust up into the attic floor. Now, seeing Zoro in a ninja outfit is cool and all, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is pretty much a mirror of a scene that we saw with Shinobu and Nami earlier in the arc. So I don't quite know if that means that maybe they're running out of request ideas or if it was just a lazy request. But if we're regurgitating moments that happened in canon and just swapping out with new characters, then I think we can probably get back to a new cover story at this point. I'm kind of missing them anyway. Anyway, the real chapter begins at the Fire Festival. And we get to see what Tinguyama and Otoko are up to. They're together at the Fire Festival, and they seem to be explaining why the Fire Festival exists, which is to mourn and celebrate people who have passed. Tinguyama mentions that the flames of the Fire Festival are meant to reach up to the heavens, and then we get a nice touching callback to Yasu's death and him watching down from the heavens. So we get a couple pages that are dedicated to showing us the Fire Festival, and honestly, they're really well-drawn panels. So despite the fact that it doesn't really do anything to address the conflicts that we were seeing in the last couple chapters, it is nice, I guess, to slow down for a little bit. For that, we see that CP0 member who's in the guest parlor of the castle on Onigashima is speaking to one of the Marys, and he's getting some information from her. So we also learned that 4,000 pleasures, gifters, and waiters have turned on Queen on the performance floor, and also that 5,000 soldiers have fallen, according to the Mary. So this brings the current match up to 20,000 Beast Pirates and 7,000 Rebellion members. And I guess to reference this figure, we see the CP0 member playing a traditional Japanese board game called Go, and in that game, he seems to have 20 black pieces surrounding 7 white pieces. I'm not sure if that's just more or less filler panel, or if that has something to do with that CP0 member in particular, or maybe some abilities he has, but maybe they'll elaborate on it. But on a side note, I am interested to see how CP0's presence will play out in this arc. It seems like they're really just hanging around more or less so they can report to the world government, but I suppose it is possible that at some point they might get actively involved in the conflict at hand. So we then get to see Bao Huang, one of the Marys, who is watching the events with Momonosuke and Kaido through that frog that Momo was carrying. And just as she's about to announce that Momo has fallen to demoralize the rebellion, she's interrupted by Nami, Usopp, and Otama. And while they're heading to the stage, we get a little bit of exposition from Zeus about how he ended up in Nami's climb attack. And he implies that Hera biting down while the climb attack was in her mouth pushed Zeus into the weapon, which is a bit odd because shortly after we do hear from Zeus that he cannot leave the climb attack without Big Mom's powers. So I suppose this could imply that the homies can affect each other or even push Big Mom's soul in and out of other homies. But in any case, as Bao Huang notices the Straw Hats behind her, Alti shows up out of nowhere and headbutts Usopp. Now, he was carrying Otama as they interrupted Bao Huang, but naturally, he drops her as he's taking the impact from the headbutt. So as she's falling, Alti snatches her up by the neck and arrives at some conclusion that she's responsible for some of the traitors that the Beast Pirates have been dealing with. It doesn't seem like Alti quite knows what Otama's ability is or how she's manipulating people, but ultimately concludes that Otama is responsible for Pepe's condition. Also, it would appear that Alti is choking Otama, and naturally Nami responds by taking a swipe at Alti with her climb attack. And if you saw my last review, I kind of guessed that the curve in the climb attack when we saw Zeus's face might imply that he could manipulate and change his form. And that seems to be the case, because as Nami takes a swipe at Alti, he turns into a spiked mace, and despite connecting, doesn't really seem to do a whole lot of damage to Alti. So after that, Zeus rationalizes to use a Thunderbolt to finish her off since she's already been damaged internally by Big Mom. And Nami decides that she can't do that because of the range and radius of the attack, possibly endangering Otama. So hearing this, Usopp sends out a special attack called Sargasso, and the name Sargasso refers to a specific sea within the Atlantic Ocean. And that sea gets its name from a type of seaweed called Sargassum, which I'm assuming is what we see separating Alti from Otama. Another fun fact, and this could just be mere coincidence, but there is a comic from the 90s called Indiana Jones and the Sargasso Pirates. It takes place, of course, in the Sargasso Sea. With the opening being created by Usopp, Nami crafts up a weather egg, and out comes Zeus. And when he emerges, he claims that he's not technically the same thing as he used to be. Naturally, he asks Nami for a new name, and when she suggests Fluff, he just goes right back to calling himself Zeus. In any case, Nami shoots her shot with a move called Lightning Blast, to which Alti dodges with relative ease, but Zeus actually manages to bust a U-turn and hits a direct hit on Alti. But Zeus's assumption was correct, since that hit did actually take Alti out. And Bao Huang is adding some commentary to the whole situation without realizing that her microphone is still basically a hot mic. So she inadvertently announces to both sides of the conflict that 2 of the Topiropo have been defeated. The irony of the situation being that she had every intention on demoralizing the rebellion. However, it would seem the opposite effect has taken place, since one of the reactions from one of the Beast Pirates is that they feel like they're being backed into a corner. Usopp wastes little to no time to capture Bao Huang, and then proceeds to tell Otama to step up to the mic and give her orders. But despite the chapter title, we don't actually get to hear what those orders are. So after a few reaction panels, we get to check back in with Yamato and Kaido's fight. Get a real beautiful panel of dragon form Kaido lording over his son. So we get some more dialogue where Yamato basically says that she intends on going out to sea with Luffy. And given how Luffy is, there's a good chance he'll probably accept that offer. So no confirmation yet that she's the next Straw Hat, but Oda is definitely trying to tip us in that direction for the hype. But Yamato also mentions that she intends on driving Kaido out of Wano, which we get an interesting line from Kaido where he says that he is specifically there because it is Wano, which I guess we can assume to be an indication that we might be getting his flashback, or at least his reasoning for targeting Wano specifically. And the chapter ends with Yamato stating that Luffy is the man that Oden was waiting for, and that he knows that he can't win against Kaido, but he has every intention on holding Kaido off until Luffy returns. The chapter ends with Kaido turning into his hybrid form and lifting his Kanabo, and it would seem from the last panel that he struck down on Yamato using his Conqueror's Haki. And I think that's going to do it for the review portion of this video, so I guess now we can get into rating the chapter. In terms of artwork, I think I'm going to give this chapter a solid 8. There's a lot of beautiful panels in this chapter, but it's still a decent amount of dialogue. It probably would have been closer to a 9 if we didn't have like 4 or 5 panels of a zoomed out Onigashima skull, because that to me seems like they're just filling pages. And I'm going to give the story an 8 because it doesn't necessarily carry a whole lot of weight in any one particular situation. We do learn a few things and get to see some setups for potential game-changing events in the raid. And then finally, for the hype, I'm going to give it a 9, mainly because we get to see Nami receive a buff in her abilities. We get to see Usopp tanking a hit from Alti and still coming out on top by separating Otama and Alti and also capturing Bao Huang. But we also get to see the initiation of the fight between Yamato and Kaido, in which case I'm assuming we'll probably get a little bit of both their backstories, if not maybe a complete flashback at this point. So if we combine all that with Otama's announcement, then I'd say the hype is real. So the average of those 3 ratings would make the chapter an 8.3, at least in my book. And unfortunately, we have a break this week, so no One Piece. But let's not let that stop the discussion. One thing that I will mention is that the official translation did have a good amount of difference between the fan translation that we had earlier. Also, I'm pretty sure that most of the One Piece community were pretty confident that Nami was going to be getting Zeus as a power-up. So no surprise there, but I do think it is interesting that we did hear from Big Mom specifically in an earlier chapter that she did not want Zeus running around with a piece of her soul. So I suppose this could have some pretty big implications on Nami and her relationship with Big Mom. I'm not sure if it'll result in a conflict or even the really out there possibility that Nami could be responsible for keeping Big Mom alive in some way in the future. Also, with Usopp capturing Bao Huang, I think that could set us up for some really good comedy scenes of him talking a lot of smack, or maybe even strategically trying to demoralize the Beast Pirates by doing what he does best, by lying and over-exaggerating. I've seen in the past that Usopp has a tendency to boast his own ego and build his own hype in some of the more large arcs, and this may be no different. It's very possible he could pump his own head up, and then by some point before the arc is over, he actually fulfills his lies. I guess finally I should address Otama, what I think that her orders are going to be. So given the fact that we were just given the figures of 20,000 versus 7,000, I think it's entirely possible that Otama may issue that all of the gifters go all out. Moreover, in hindsight, I don't think the figures of 20,000 versus 7,000 that we received earlier in the chapter, I don't think they actually include the number of Smile Fruit users that Otama and Lady Speed have already converted. And with that being said, if Otama manages to get the Smile Fruit users she's converted to go all out and give it their best, then the statement of the CP0 member might actually ring true about the tides turning very soon. So those are my thoughts on the most recent chapter, and we obviously are on a break for the next week, so we should get another chapter around the 27th at the end of this month. I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. Again, I'm John with Adam's Fam Anime. If you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe, or comment down below. I am open to any suggestions or criticism, whether it be positive or negative. Also, if you guys have any suggestions for series for me to read or watch in terms of manga and anime, I'd be very happy to start a new series and discuss it here on YouTube with you guys. Anyway, thank you again for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.